Welcome to Terp Talk this Saturday morning. According to the Washington Post, it's Saturday, January 5th, and there's our fine class of recruits on the front page of the sports page. Today's big topics are, it's really the first day of basketball season. Plus, Maryland has some big recruits who played in the Under Armour All-American game last night. Sitting in today for Bruce will be Jerry Coleman. I'm Wayne Viener. According to the studio clock, it's 7:43 this Saturday. We'll be back with the show in a few minutes.
Here is the head coach of Maryland basketball, Mark Turgeon, ready to roar as the Terps begin ACC play at high noon today. Good morning, everyone. Jerry Coleman in for Bruce Posner, who's on assignment, recovering from the flu right now. Bruce, get better. It is Kelly & Associates Insurance Group TerpTalk, along with Wayne Viener. I'm Jerry Coleman, and we'll be here for the next hour. We'll take your calls. We'll talk Terps with you at 866-950-5225. 866-950-5225. Wayne, great to have you here as usual, and Son Mason as well, doing an excellent job behind the camera. I know you're pumped up for the first ACC game today. You're headed to College Park right after we're done.
That's true, boy. Basketball season starts today. You're 12-1 coming in. We had that big game with Kentucky, so it's like we had a one-game basketball season way back in November. Today, Virginia Tech comes in. They have a new coach, a lead guard who's the #1 scorer in America, and Eric Green. And I heard via the Washington Post there's only 700 tickets left. It's ACC basketball, and it starts today. 18 games to prove that we belong in the top 10 in America. Of course, I might be overly optimistic.
Well, of course, but listen, this team has played some solid basketball. They've had some ups and downs. The good thing is Mark Turgeon has used a lot of these games to experiment and find out who can play well within his system. I mean, he's used a number of players. They're going 10 deep. They're spreading the minutes out. They've been very effective. I don't know if they can keep it up at this level in terms of using 10 guys in ACC play, but it, again, has been effective thus far as they've got off to a 12-1 start.
Well, it's been effective, but it's been odd to see. First, there's a couple things that come to mind. First one is that Maryland has 10 guys who can play basketball, and that's different from in years past.
And that's a good thing.
Right. 5 of them, although only 3 of them are on the team, for those in the D.C. market, are on the front page of the Washington Post sports section. There's a great picture with Shaq Clear, DeMonte Dodd, who's coming in next year. But back to your point, everybody in the house plays. 10 guys. I was at the IUPUI game, known as Ooey Pooey. Great nickname for a school. And everybody who was in uniform got to play. And that's something that Turgeon's been doing. And it looks like every 4 or 5 minutes, 5 more guys roll out on the floor. And like I said, that's new for Terp fans. I don't know if he can do that in a real game. I'm sure we're going to find out today if he wants to keep up with that.
And I think Coach Turgeon has admitted as much, although he has been experimenting. He does realize that once you get into this ACC play, you got to utilize your best players, and that's probably 5 to 8 players, 8 players deep. Obviously, you need 5 on the court to be effective.
Because you might get to
probably
10,
8.
it's just that they can't split the minutes. Last week, well, it wasn't last week, with the holidays and New Year's, all the time runs together. But against IUPUI on the first, Jake Lehman led the Terps in minutes, and he's been somebody who you felt might have been the 10th guy. And to see him out there and give him the opportunity, you know that you watch him play. He comes off the All-American 18 and under team, a gold medal winner, and that somewhere this season they're going to need him to come in and play big minutes.
Well, he's a guy who's been a three-point threat throughout his freshman year thus far. He's a guy who's shown pretty good range. Did have a little stumble there academically and paid the price for it. He's recovered from that, and that's nice to see that he's bounced back. It's all a learning process in his first year.
Right. I guess it's when you see somebody who's 6'8", a big guy, good-looking kid, can play basketball, sometimes you forget that he's 18 years old.
Right.
So looking back on everybody else's college experience, did anybody else make any mistakes in their life? Probably 1 or 2.
Sure.
You just don't do it in front of 12 to 15 to hopefully today 17,500 people. There's some other newcomers for those who haven't watched a lot of Terp basketball because it's sort of in the preseason. You have Logan Ehrenholt. We'll start with the senior. He's a transfer. Came in from Albany. He's one of their all-time leading scorers, and man, that guy can hit the three. As I was remarking during the game, you see those Xfinity signs on the floor, channeling a little bit of Yogi Berra, that Logan Ehrenholt can make it from the Xanadu sign out there. Almost out of bounds. And so he's your zone buster, and he's going to play 1 year for Maryland. And then one of the guys that Bruce thinks is the absolute spark plug of the team is Seth Allen. Now, he doesn't start at point guard. He's a freshman from Virginia. He's the first recruit that Turgeon brought in, and you'll see he's number 4. A little guy who can dunk. He can stroke the three, and he comes in for Peshawn Howard to sort of change up what Maryland does. And it's been a while since we've had 2 different looks from the point guard spot.
And that's nice to see. And Seth Allen has become a guy that's someone that you can count on in crucial situations, I think, even though, again, he's a freshman. You pointed out he was the first recruit for Mark Turgeon, essentially, here at Maryland. So he probably has a special spot in Turgeon's heart. First guy he brought into College Park will always have a special part for Turgeon. He was on his show the other night. It's kind of unusual to invite a freshman onto the program.
Well, he's got to be a team leader because he's going to be a kid who has the ball in his hands in crucial times for Maryland. Of course, Peshawn Howard came back from an ACL injury, and for those who are watching the games, he's been running around with a big Don Joy, like RG3 kind of knee brace on, and recently the knee brace is gone. It's been less than a year. I've had 2 ACL surgeries. It used to take 1.5 years to come back. Now you see somebody out there playing D1 college basketball, full speed, less than a year. I'd call it a medical miracle, but we'll see, because the same thing's going to happen with Maryland's quarterbacks. Not to really shift gears here, but you have so many guys.
Yeah, they had a run on those, didn't they?
They needed to go to the after Christmas sale and pick up a couple extra quarterbacks. But it'll be different next year, but most of them will be coming off an ACL injury. So you figure if Peshawn Howard can come back in less than a year and play at full speed, you would hope the same thing can happen for Maryland quarterback coming off an ACL injury.
Yeah, and it's tough for point guards. I mean, ask Derrick Rose. He's still
First, let's go back
a little bit to that IUPUI game and what you took away from that last contest. And, you know, they played a number of cupcakes besides maybe a Northwestern or a Kentucky. And they've won 12 of the first 13 games. I mean, we've seen the Stony Brooks come through here and the Monmouths and Delaware States and all that.
Yeah,
now
they just want to make them work at it. They don't want them scoring 25 points on 8 to 10 shots. They want them shooting a lot and missing a lot and working hard. So defense is going to be very important today. And I know that's something that Coach Turgeon consistently harps on.
He does. It's a trademark of the team. And if you need a trademark, defense is supposed to be something that shows up every game all the time. So I think that we can limit Virginia Tech in the shooting. One of the things also that Turgeon's brought up, and it's evident from going to the games, is that some of the guys don't seem as interested as of late as they were previously. And he said some of the guys just got bored. Once again, you're talking about 18, 19-year-old guys who are playing a competition level that's a little bit less than I guess they'd call exciting. In the last few games, we started out fairly flat. We were down to IUPUI, if my memory serves me correct, 11-3 and 19-9. And they picked up a charging call after a steal. And I turned to the person I was at the game with, and I said, Maryland's going to score the next 10 or 12 points to get this thing tied up. And yes, the lights went on, Maryland hit the gas pedal, and all of a sudden Maryland blows out IUPUI. So I'm worried. What do they say? You play like you practice?
Yeah.
Well, I hope we don't play like we've played. Because
what do you attribute these lackadaisical surges and periods in the game too? Is it the opponent maybe not playing, you know, a quality opponent? Could it be the lack of fans in the stands? I know they've had 7,000 or 8,000 at times. It's been disappointing. They have been away for exams. We understand that, and that's always, you know, rational because kids do go away during the holiday break back home. They're away from College Park, but that may have a residual effect on the players.
Well,
it's not an excuse, but it may.
It might. You don't really know what goes on in the locker room. You've covered a lot of pro teams, and you know that sometimes things aren't what they seem to the outside.
Well, these kids were sold, that they're going to come to College Park, they're going to play in front of a lot of fans, they're going to play quality teams, and that's all going to come to fruition. But it's just not happening on day one.
No, the schedule was set up because we didn't know who was really going to be here. You know, Des Wells was a late ad. Keyshawn's coming off an ACL. So we had a schedule that was set up a long time ago. And the schedule, you can only play the teams you're scheduled to play.
Right.
You can't go change the schedule today. I'll forgive you back today. You got 18 conference games plus a tournament, and hopefully an NCAA tournament. So I'm going to give the whole group a pass on whether they were as energized as they could be.
And that is a tradition around here, Wayne, once football
Understandably
season.
so.
But I agree with you. Once we get past the new year, basketball season goes into full effect. I was excited with the opening game against Kentucky, a game I thought they could have won, and they would have been undefeated had they prevailed in that game.
The number one projected draft pick is still a Kentucky Wildcat, which is
Nerlens Noel's.
right. And the number 5 projected draft pick is Alex Len. So we do have the horses to get this done. You mentioned Virginia Tech. We're so used to seeing Seth Greenberg on the sideline.
Yeah.
And
That's going to be strange.
Yeah, you have some notes there. The new coach is
James Johnson, who right now they're 9-4. They got off to a very good start, but have struggled a little bit since.
Right, they went to West Virginia and lost, and then they lost to Georgia State that Maryland beat.
Right.
And it just Georgia Southern that Maryland beat, and they just haven't picked it up since then. So they need a win too.
It's interesting because there's probably a lot of pressure on this guy, James Johnson. Seth Greenberg was a guy who would get his team.
But again, this is going to be a huge test. They've gotten better defensively. But again, how tested have the Terps been? Because all but 3 of their wins, Wayne, up to date, have been by double digits.
Right, and if you say that Northwestern was a test, well, Northwestern's now 9-5.
Right.
Kentucky was a test. Well, they're now 9-4. And then the next best team on that list you mentioned was Stony Brook. And it's funny how this little school in Long Island is getting a lot of publicity. They do well in lacrosse. They do well in other sports, and now they're getting some press as far as a basketball school. But that's it. So you have to go on what you see as far as a team and the makeup of a team. And Maryland has the parts. You got your 2 point guards, both of them could shoot, Howard and Allen. You've got Aaron Hall as a true 2 guard coming in who can hit it from almost out of bounds. You've got 2 big guys, maybe even say that's 3 legit big guys in Mitchell, Alex Len, and then Shaquille Clear coming in off the bench. You've got a legit senior power forward who has all the old school moves around the basket and Paget. And you've got some true small forward types. Sometimes we're playing 2 at a time, which is Des Wells, who in the open court is close to amazing. He's not quite Steve Francis, but you can see it from here. You've got Faust, who's been leading the team in minutes. It seems the most trusted player and the overall key recruit, winding the clock back. The Maryland staff, including Bino and Spinelli, all had to convince him still to come. He was a Gary recruit that Turgeon had to go re-recruit. And what a talented team. For those who tend more towards the scouting, they go, Maryland has all the parts. It's whether or not Turgeon can put it together. And then if those 9 can't get it done, you still have Jake Lehman, who at some point will probably be the star he was touted to be, sitting on the bench. All the parts are there.
It's going to be interesting today, and again, tip-off at 12 o'clock in College Park, Maryland and Virginia Tech.